Hello, and welcome to What is a Business? For this video, we're going to go through what a business is. The purpose of this video is now that you understand the concept of a problem, analysis, getting into the root cause analysis, and coming up with solutions, we're going to be doing this for a business as an IT professional. So before we dive into doing this for a business as an IT professional, I think it's important that we spend a little bit of time trying to understand what a business is all about. I think in doing so, the rest of the course will make a little bit more sense for you. And I think you'll be able to put your skills that you worked on the previous week to the test to help resolve problems for businesses. Okay? So we're just going to talk a little bit about that this week and allow you to explore a little bit more about a business on your own. So you kind of get the concepts and the ideas of what a business is all about. And then hopefully in the future, you'll be able to relate those concepts to potential problem areas where you can then leverage technology um, to help the business, with their profits and their costs and so on. All right. So the objectives of this particular video is to talk about what a business is, try to go through some of the basic concepts of what a business is, talk about the different types of structures, and then a nonprofit versus a profit. All right, let's move on. So what is a business? A business is an organization or economic society, a system where goods and services are exchanged for one another for money. Another definition, business is a work relating to the production, buying, and selling of goods and services. And another definition that I found for you, a business is an organization that produces and sells goods that provide a service. So for the most part, what a business is for a for-profit business anyway, is a business that's trying to sell a service or a product. A service could be, a doctor's service. A product could be um, a hamburger at a hamburger joint or a computer at Best Buy. Those are businesses. They're in business, if you will, to make money. The goal of most businesses is to make a profit, either for the owners or for the shareholders or so on. Does that make sense? The goal is always to make money. Uh, this is a capitalist society, especially in the United States, where our goal is to make money. In doing so, usually they provide jobs, which helps everybody and to sustain themselves and so on. All right. So business is a good thing, and technology in business is huge. So every business requires some form of investment, usually, and enough customers to whom its output can be sold on a consistent basis in order to make a profit. Once again, the business needs to stay open. It needs to consistently make profits, consistently improve itself. Usually, is what's happening, and also consistently change itself to the adapting world. Things have changed dramatically over the last 10 years due to technology. Businesses need to keep up. When we speak of a business, there's three different types of business. We kind of alluded to those, but let's go ahead and talk about them. A service type of business provides intangible products with no physical form. Service types firms offer professional skills, expertise, advice, and other similar products. We're talking, salons, repair shops, schools, banks, accounting firms, law firms, and so on. Those would be a service. All right. So they actually do not hold, any kind of product or sell any kind of product. They may, maybe a law firm. Well, I want to say a law firm. I didn't think of one here. Maybe a bank for some reason all of a sudden might sell you something, or a school. You can actually think about buying books. That could be a product in itself. However, usually in our school, our bookstore is a totally different business that's not even associated with Cincinnati State. But that's what a service is, okay? A merchandising business, on the other hand, buys products at a wholesale price and sells them at retail prices. I mean, probably the best one we can think of here could be grocery stores, convenience store, distributors, and other resellers. Probably the big one that everybody now knows about is Amazon. They take products and resell them. All right. So they're more of a, a buy and sell type business. Okay, so they make money, basically buying the products at a certain price, at a wholesale price, and then selling them at a retail price. And those are the difference between the two would be the margin, and that's where their profits come from. A manufacturing business then buys products with the intention of using them as materials and making a new product. So if we think of Procter and Gamble, for instance, they make a lot of products from shampoos, the toothpaste, the soap. Oh, the list just goes on, correct, when it comes to Procter and Gamble. But for the most part, what they're doing is manufacturing these products. They're making these products from raw materials, if you would. Another example might be a car. It's an automobile place where, we're thinking of Toyota that takes raw materials like steel. Um, I don't know, the several billion raw materials that go into a car and formulates a car from that by basically putting it all together. That's what a manufacturing business is all about. And finally, there's a hybrid of all of these, if you sit back and think about it, where you have a service possibly, and you can also have a product, and so on. A restaurant might be a good example of that, where you go to a restaurant and you are being served. There's a service to it. You're literally paying for the service that somebody's serving you at the restaurant, yet there's a product associated with that. And in some cases, you can almost look at it as the manufacturing piece of it, where they're taking raw goods, meaning ingredients, and making you a meal. So why is it important to understand these 3 to 4 different types of businesses? Because each one deals with different things. And by understanding this as an IT professional, we can, ask the right questions, if you will. And also, when it comes to supporting IT, it's a little bit different. I mean, there's more opportunities, or different opportunities, I should say, based upon what the business actually is. So if it's a service business, you need to have some information technology that would support keeping the time of what's being done, in regards to the service. A manufacturing business, you need to keep inventories of all the raw materials and how those are actually being made and the costs associated with all that. Merchandising business, you need to keep track of the inventory in regards to what the merchandising business bought and basically how they sold it for how much. There's a lot of different things there, and each business is different, and so you can't treat each one the same. You must look at the type of business, and when you walk into a business and start asking questions. All right, there's different types of structures out there, and it's probably important to know these structures as you go through it. Again, I'm not going to read each slide to you. You can kind of go read the PowerPoints yourself, but the first one is a sole proprietorship. Okay, this is a business solely owned by one person. Okay, it's usually easy to set up, and it's pretty least costly. The owner faces unlimited liability. Not quite sure that's really important to you, but it is important to know how the business is set up. If it's owned by one person, how you deal with that one person when it comes to IT opportunities might be a little bit different than when you maybe what you deal with to a mega corporation, which we'll talk about here in a second. A partnership is just when 2 or more people basically contribute resources to the entity, meaning 2 or more people own the business. And that would be a partnership, very similar to a sole proprietorship, but you get more people involved. A corporation, now this is getting to be a big business. So this is an organization that has separate legal personality from its owners. So ownership is usually a stock related thing. So you hear about a corporation being public. Excuse me. So in this case, you think about P&G. P&G is a stock-owned company. Okay, no one owner owns P&G. It's stock. And so when you buy a piece of stock, like in P&G, you become a shareholder, meaning you actually become a part owner of that company. Obviously, as part owner, you want the profits to be as high as they possibly can be, so the stock goes up in value. As the stocks go up in value, basically your investment becomes a little bit more valuable. Does that make sense? Some stocks actually provide dividends, so a lot of the profits of a company can be distributed between its shareholders. Regardless, As a stockholder, you always want good profits and always more profits and growing profits. So it's a totally different aspect. When we talk about sole proprietorships and partnerships, the profits of the business usually go back to those owners. Okay? A limited liability company, it's kind of a popular term today. It's the same thing as a sole proprietorship in a sense. Instead of the sole proprietorship being liable for the business if it fails, it separates itself. Limited liability companies are separate from the personal, what do I say, uh, the personal monies and so on of an owner. Let me try to explain that differently. And so for me, for instance, I own a house, I have a bank account, and so on that I take care of my personal life with. Is As a sole proprietor, if my business fails, all those assets that I have personally can be the bank can come after them if they wanted to. A limited liability separates the two. The business is one entity, your personal life and personal things are your other entity. So most sole proprietorships set themselves up as a limited liability company. Hope that makes sense. Cooperative is a business organization owned by a group of individuals. It is operated for the mutual benefit. Usually, cooperatives were more like utility companies and water companies and so on. So it's kind of a more of a utility type thing when you deal with those. Okay, so why are all these important to understand? Once again, by walking into a business and understanding who owns it, you start asking different questions. If there's just one person who owns it, and that's everything that comes out of that business usually goes to that person's bottom line and his pocketbook, if you will. You got more of a personal aspect to it, and you got to deal with that personality maybe a little bit differently as an IT professional. If it's an organization or a corporation, they're dealing with stockholders, so their main goal is to do nothing but reduce costs and increase revenues. They must do that, or people will sell the stock. Sort of makes sense. So, trying to understand a business, you got to understand what it is you're doing, the service you're providing, the type of business it is, and then how the whole thing is structured. All those attributes really make a difference from an IT professional's point of view and how we can help those businesses get better, leveraging IT. Sorry, I'm bouncing around here a little bit. Profit and nonprofit. It's also important to understand, companies that are for profit and for those who are nonprofit. For the most part, everything we've talked about so far in this video deals with profit companies, for-profit companies. Their goal is to maximize profits. When you hear the term nonprofit, their goal is to remain in business, if you will. There's no one owner to a nonprofit. And so in this case, and there's no shareholders in a nonprofit. So in those cases, the goal is to sustain themselves, to make enough money to cover their expenses and to sustain themselves. If they do make a profit, it goes right back into the business. Nobody benefits from the profit like a for-profit company. All right. Obviously, nonprofit companies are more service companies. You'll hear of nonprofits like United Way and those type of pieces. A hospital could be a nonprofit or a for-profit. There's two different types. So there's a lot of different things that go on with a nonprofit. Is it important to understand? Yeah. Once again, if you walk into a nonprofit agency or you walk into a nonprofit type company, they're not there to maximize profits. They're there to sustain themselves. And so the goals are a little bit different. And with that, the technology they could possibly use to sustain those goals would be different. Make sense? All right. So once again, last slide here. Why are we learning all this? Well, as an IT professional providing a service to a business, we must strive to understand everything about them. And so those categories that I just spoke about, from the type of business to the structure of the business to if it's a profit or nonprofit, it's a good beginning. Obviously, you cannot learn business in one slideshow. There's majors, there's bachelor's degrees, there's associate degrees, there's master's degrees, and so on. Even PhDs, all dealing with business. But once again, this is a good beginning and something I hope that will help you.